Hi there.
Hello. This is Av and Court with EnvironMental Podcast.
Yeah, this is our podcast where we deep dive into different aspects of sustainability, and we have really great conversations with our guests about different parts of sustainability. And if this is the type of content that you please subscribe so you can see us in your feed.
And today we are joined by Anna Luckai, who is the owner and founder of Sanctuary Innerwear. Thank you so much for being here, Anna.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Sanctuary Innerwear is a brand that we got connected through Living Brand Directory. You were one of the first members officially listed. So you were an early adopter, and we are so appreciative of that connection. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be on the leading edge, right? And you just want to kind of jump in as soon as you see something great happening. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yes, absolutely. And so tell us a little bit more about your brand.
I design and make a brand of lingerie, which I say is life-changing. And what I mean by that is that I begin with certified sustainable lensing tensile fabric. And in keeping with that, I dye everything using plants, which I grow in my garden or forage. And then I infuse the garments with herbal remedies. And so what the goal is there is to add your garment, the routine that you do every day of dressing, right? Getting something on, putting something on in the morning, to add that to your wellness regime, right? So you're actually getting up, you're actually making a decision about what you would like to be, how you would like to be that day. And then you are dressing accordingly and using the herbs that are infused in the garments to help you get there. Yeah, wow. So that's it in a nutshell.
I love it. It's so exciting because I feel like I have a lot of questions. Because you are creating wellness, you want this to be part of your wellness regime. Where did that idea come from, right? Was it spawned by the fact that, like, when you wear fabrics that are, made from plastic, that can leach into your skin, so you want to counteract that, or where did that start from?
Yeah, thanks, Aubrey. At this point in time, we are so aware of the damage that our clothing can do to us. And I'm talking about the plastics in the clothing that we buy, that we have to buy. We have so little that's completely natural that's available to us. And I don't care where you are really in the world. That's the state of affairs. So definitely that has been in the back of my mind since I learned about tensile. And the fact that I've been a sewer for my whole life, but never heard of tensile and natural fabrics and the different processes used to make fabrics. So I digress a little bit. Maybe we can get to that later. But so that being in the back of my mind, it was, okay, so this is my second clothing line. The first clothing line was called IAG Originals, and IAG stood for It's All Good. So I was using tensile. I was dyeing with plants, same thing, except I was making outerwear. So tops, bottoms, basic stuff. And then I was pouring my dye bath into my garden one day, just because I don't use chemicals. So it's a good herbicide, pesticide for my plants. Dumping my dye bath into my garden thinking, wait a minute, I've taken the color out of this plant. I wonder if there's anything else that is beneficial in this pot, right? So I started diving deeply into herbalism, and lo and behold, kind of like, duh, yes, plants are good for us, right? So at that point I said, okay, well, which plants do I want close to my body, and how can I get them close to my body? And at that point, I decided, okay, I'm no longer making kind of like outerwear, I called it. I'm now making innerwear. So I want the fabric that I'm going to bring these herbs into, I want that closest to your skin. So now I'm doing lingerie, right? So, and then in my research into herbalism, so the process of incorporating healthy plants in the clothing that you're wearing is very, very old. It's called Ayurveda, and it's part of the 5,000-year-old South Indian tradition of Ayurveda. And so I looked into that quite a bit and found it a little bit kind of, I don't want to say anything, bad about it, but I wanted to do something further, something more, something so that I wasn't changing the color. So I didn't want, like, once I had dyed my fabric, I didn't want to now infuse it with something else that was going to change the color of it. So I came upon hydrosols, and hydrosols are distillations. Yep. So I boil the herbs, I collect the condensation, and then I infuse the garments with those, their pure essences of the plant. Mm-hmm. So when you make essential oils, you actually do the same thing. So, but you draw off the oil constituents of the plant, and you, in history, they've just discarded the water parts of the plant, the water constituents. But now they're realizing, right? They're realizing that the water is actually a hologram of the plant itself. It has all the parts of the plant, but to a much, much lesser degree. Mm-hmm. And so the hydrosol was perfect. It was clear, but it still had the goodness of the herbs, but much lighter. So it's not knocking you over like the essential oils do. Wow. So there it is. That was the whole process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a whole like hydrosol setup, or are you boiling underneath, or am I asking?
Yeah. I don't have a patent, and I really should. But I don't even have a still. So I just use a really, really basic grade 6 chemistry science, grade 6 science setup. But it works perfectly well, and anybody can do it. And anybody can use hydrosols too. Hydrosols are the next essential, way of bringing plants into our lives. That is so gentle and so lovely and so helpful for everything.
Yeah, for sure. We are really familiar with hydrosols.
Yeah, we've worked in natural skincare companies in the past and worked with an herbal school. So this is right up our alley, and it's just it's like you're infusing the clothes with a skincare product with like incredible skincare benefits. Like
which is
2 in 1.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah,
it's on your body.
It's so
exactly. Your body is your biggest organ, right? And everything goes in through your skin, everything. So probably the best benefit of the clothing that I make is to provide a protective layer between you and your clothes. Mm-hmm. Right?
Wow. How do you use the same hydrosols, or do you kind of what kinds of hydrosols do you choose to use?
So I have 12 different styles of clothing. So basically I have 6 different styles, but each style comes in 2 colors. Mm-hmm. And so I have 12 different intentions. So, for instance, my yellow garment, which is called Joy, which is like a little corselet, a little shortlet, then I sell everything in a set. So you get the top and the bottom and the soap and the spray. I'll talk about the soap in a second too. And the spray is the infusion. So this is a really perky little outfit with, lots of vivacity, and it's yellow. So it's, that's kind of the joy color. And then the infusion is lemon balm, calendula, and ginger. So those are very uplifting herbs, So that's the idea. So and so then the green one, which is the same style, but it is in a different color. It's lime green. It's called Zest. So this one is invigorating herbs. So this is peppermint and eucalyptus and hyssop. So those ones are really energizing herbs. So yeah, so so they're depending on the herbs. That is the name of the garment, right? So, and that's the intention. That's what you think about when you're getting dressed in the morning.
Yeah, and so you send hydrosol with the outfits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 125 milliliter spray bottle. Yeah, I don't have one here, but I can.
Wow.
Yeah. So I boil the herbs one at a time, and then I blend them, right, to make the hydrosol. And they each have 3 different herbs in it. The only one that it does not is love. The love chemise in short. Actually, that's not true. The white ones, anything that's white. So I have Purity Set and Trust. Those are white. Those do not have any dye, no bleach, no dye, no infusion, no nothing, right? So just want to have pure Tencel, and there's 8% spandex in there as well. So, but other than that, the love set is not infused with herbs. It's infused with magnesium. The idea being that when, your body needs calcium, your body needs magnesium, and those two counteract each other. So you guys know all about that. So, yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Come on, you guys. Questions, fire them.
I didn't realize that you were also sending the hydrosol. I thought that the herbal infusion came with kind of in connection with the dyeing process. So that was so I'm blown away. That's incredible that you're giving people, because I was going to ask, does their, excuse me, after you wash them, is that kind of, do those benefits go away? But if you're giving people the ability to re-infuse.
Exactly. I don't know how long the infusion lasts. I mean, it lasts maybe longer for me than it does for you based on, my sense of smell or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But you can reinfuse anytime. And then when you wash the garment, I also make a pure soap, which is in order to launder it, right? So you put a little paddle of my soap, which has the herbs through the hydrosol as well as the tincture, into a pail with warm water, and then you shush it around, and then you hang it up. So again, you shush it around. Again, you are infusing when you're washing the garment.
Wow, Anna.
It's the whole package, right? So
it really is. I love it. And I want to talk about Tencel, because I didn't know anything about Tencel when we started Living Brand Directory, and when we were introduced to you, I read your whole website, and we had a little bit of a back and forth. I went down a rabbit hole after we met because it's amazing. Nice. And since I've bought sheets, I'm a convert, and
you can get sheets. Oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah. Actually, weirdly, the IKEA here sells Lensing Tencel sheets.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm talking to you later.
We'll send some to you. Yeah.
That was really exciting. But tell me how you got introduced to Tencel and what that was like.
Yeah, I guess my introduction to Tencel was a lot quicker and easier than yours was. But since then, I've done so much research on it and keep finding from not just lensing, but also third party reviewers that Tencel is such a good lensing. Tencel is such a good fabric, which actually it's a fiber, right? So we have to kind of make that distinction. I was a teacher. I just retired, but I was a teacher. I took a year off and did a fiber arts diploma course in Halliburton School of the Arts. One of my professors, an elderly lady who was a weaver, introduced me to Tencel. And prior to that, so I've been sewing. My mom's a seamstress, so I've been sewing since age 5, whatever. Always bought my fabric at Fabricland. That was pretty much the only place I could buy fabric, really. Not pretty much, it was. And still is, even less so, because now Fabriclands are all closing. So she introduced me to Tencel as a natural, sustainable fabric. And so before the course was even over, I was like madly running around, like on the internet, to try and find some of this fabric. It's been a bit of a road since then, trying in terms of sourcing fabric that is made from Tencel. It isn't very common. It's only a 20-year-old fabric, which sounds old, but is very young because cotton is like over 5,000 years old. So, so my research led me to understand that this is a man-made cellulose fabric. And what that means is, and this is why it doesn't have an organic designation. What that means is the bark from the eucalyptus tree, and Lenzing, the company out of Austria, which supplies the fiber that goes in my fabric, farms eucalyptus trees in South Africa. So what they are doing is certifying the growth of these eucalyptus trees through FSC and PFSC certifications. And so the eucalyptus tree is ideal because it grows really tall. It's like the king of the forest, like a walnut tree here. It does not need any herbicides, any pesticides, or any irrigation. It's the gum tree found in Australia and other parts of the equator. And we're able to use like all of the tree. Okay, so everything from the tree gets used, but the fabric is made from the bark. And what happens when they take the bark from the tree is that they use chemical, well, it's actually more of a cleaner than it is a chemical, called NMMO. That's the short form for it, which breaks the bark down and makes it into a pulp, just like they would be doing to make paper. That cycle, that process from bark to pulp is typically where all the chemicals are introduced, especially in, I'm going to tell you, bamboo, as well as all other rayons. Okay, so even if it says Tencel, without the lensing insignia, it still is using chemicals to do that process. And the reason is because if it's not lensing that has produced those fibers, then there's no guarantee that it is just eucalyptus. Okay, so what's happening is that instead of taking farmed eucalyptus trees, they're taking the, where these trees grow, which is the rainforest, taking everything. All the wood, right? So whatever's on that particular piece of land. And then they have to process all those different kinds of wood. And so they have to use a much stronger chemical in order to break all that wood down. Okay. Yeah. So lensing, I've just explained, doesn't do that, right? So with just eucalyptus, they use a very, very minimal lensing's whole purpose in creating fiber is to do this sustainably. And that is their whole goal. And I know that because of third-party verification.
Wow.
I'm gonna remember that later, but anyway. Okay, so then once that is in a pulp form, the eucalyptus, then it is extruded through tiny, tiny spinnerets, like a little sieve, right? And then it comes out like this white, like pure white, like the inside of a milkweed pod. Fibers that are fine, really, 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 really fine, silky soft and glistening, actually glistening, which gives the fabric itself a really nice sheen to it. So then it is knitted into knit fabrics, which is what I use for the lingerie, or woven into a woven fabric. And it's white. It's white already without bleach. Did I answer the question? Sorry.
Yes. Yes, you did. Lensing also uses a circular model, right, for the way that they process.
And I didn't say that. Yeah. Sorry. So that process between the bark and the pulp is 99.5 up to 99.8% recycled into the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another reason why they're
like and
way sustainable.
And something you said, that when you use other types of, like, it's specific to eucalyptus that you can use the NMMO, but when you use other types of barks, that doesn't break it down, right? Does that include bamboo?
Yep.
So it's just like they're harder barks, so they need a stronger chemical, and then you have
the chemicals.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's something I didn't realize, because that was one of my questions was, well, what if rayon had a, circular, process and used less chemicals? Would you consider using fabrics like that? Because they are made from plants. They are made from other trees, but yeah, we don't have a safe chemical to break those down right now. So that makes sense.
The other wood that Lensing uses to make fabric is beech. And they make modal out of that. You've probably heard of modal, right? So that's another branch, of their work. I prefer the tencel over the modal. All of the so when I buy the fabric, it is certified through Lensing. So that's how I know that in my fabric consists of Lensing fibers. Now I had forgotten there while I was trying to give you that explanation. So Textile Exchange is a global nonprofit which is right now trying to assess all the materials used in. Are you familiar with any company that is creating something out of textiles? So they're a really good one to look at because they're benchmarking, and at this point it's all voluntary, but still really good to look at, because if a company is doing things right, then they want to get certified, right? They want to benchmark. And Lensing is there like full force, like they're at the top of the whole, right, level 4. And I'm actually level 3. So my company is level 3. Yep. Yeah. Maturing, they call it.
Okay.
That's really good. I did know about Textile Exchange again from you, because that's something that you have been really involved in.
Right.
And you guys I think could get on there too.
Oh, interesting. Even though we don't
do textiles.
So what do you guys do? Like is it all products that are sustainable? That's what you're into?
We run a marketing company for sustainable brands.
Yeah. Anyway, we can talk about that too.
Okay. Yeah. So we work with sustainable brands, and we work with nonprofits and social impact businesses. But we don't. I guess our products is like us.
Right. We don't produce a physical product.
Yeah. We could send like hair and they can test it and say that Dandelion is on the list.
You're using good shampoo.
Love it. Wow.
Wow.
So how long you mentioned you've been sewing for your whole life, and then how long has Sanctuary Innerwear been around?
Since 2019.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And prior to that, let's see, IAG Originals was 3 years.
Nice. And then and you're working with this like 6 main styles. And then you have some kind of seasonal stuff as well. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, I do. I have some bralettes and little boxers.
Yeah. Those...
yeah, those are just little separates for the summer. And yeah, they're super comfortable, super cool because they're breathable, right? So this is all cellulose. So
incredible. I mean, it all just looks so cozy.
Yeah, I did buy black tencel, so I don't dye the black. That's just like impossible.
Okay, that was a question. Like how?
Yeah. I think some of the really experienced dyers are getting close, but it's not something I will be doing just because that is going to involve so many different layers of color, right? Because nothing dyes black by itself. But the greenish sort of one is pomegranate rinds.
Yeah.
And then there's the white one as well, which is how I buy the fabric, right? So I buy white tencel, and then I dye all the colors with plants. So the yellow is goldenrod, the green is the zest one is okay. So let me ask you a question. What color is nature? Quick.
Pretty green, I guess. Or
brown.
Yeah.
So nothing dyes green. So that's very ironic. Yeah. So I have to do 2 layers. So the first layer is woad. Woad is not a color that actually maybe you've heard of woad. So woad was the original blue of Europe prior to the Silk Road being established from India, so that indigo could come from India. And so woad is in the mustard family and grows very aggressively. In fact, it's outlawed in parts of the States to grow woad. But it has indigo tin, which is the chemical component that makes indigo. It has that in its leaves, and it is using the same kind of a process without chemicals. You can do it with chemicals, but without chemicals, it's a fermentation process. Same as indigo, but it produces a really nice light. You can see that on my Truth, the Truth one, a really nice light. I call it a French blue. It's like a robin's egg blue. So that goes underneath, and then goldenrod on top of it for the green, for the zest. And then indigo for the blue, of course, and then madder root for the pink. So the tenderness is madder root, straight madder root, and the Sanctuary one is rhubarb leaves first, dyed with rhubarb leaves first, and then madder root on top of that. So that's a little bit more peachy. The balance and the glow. So the glow is walnut shells and pomegranate rinds. And then balance is walnut shells and madder root on top. I think we got them all.
Wow.
Anyway,
it's so incredible.
So lots of fun, right? Lots of fun.
What is your favorite? Okay, I gotta stop looking at these things so I can actually ask you questions, because I'm like looking through all of them. What do you think is your like favorite dye to work with, if you had one that you just like when you're working with it, you're like, oh, this is my.
Yeah, definitely goldenrod. Goldenrod is God's gift to North America. like Europe had weld, and weld has been around for thousands of years, as has madder root and indigo. But in Canada, or most of Canada at least, we have this goldenrod growing everywhere, and it does not cause hay fever. That's ragweed, actually. Yeah, it's so super easy. You just cut the stalk, you stick it in the water, you heat it, you take off the plant material, and you have a dye bath. So super
just
easy.
Water.
But just water. Oh yeah, just water. But I do. Sorry.
And it's that yellow.
And it's that yellow. Yeah, it could be yellower if I wanted it to be. And in the first, like now, in the early spring, it's kind of yellowy green. It's like really vibrantly yellow. But first I do cook it in alum. So alum is like a pickling agent, right? That's how we use it in the kitchen. But in dyeing, it actually opens the fibers of the fabric and allows them to more easily take the dye, accept the dye.
So that's the fabric you put in alum.
Right. So I have a big pot, put it on my propane cooker outside, and put in a piece, say a meter long, which I have scoured. So first I have to scour the fabric, which is just washing it really, really well, like just really by hand, because it needs to really, have some friction. And then I boil the fabric in the alum and leave it overnight. And what the alum does, you can actually see it just kind of settles on that fabric, goes right into it, and then I rinse it, and then it's ready to dye.
Wow. But
the hardest one to do is indigo. Actually, woad is horrible too. They're both. I mean, it's like, it's closer to witchcraft than it is to dyeing. And honestly, the stars have to align, and I have to be completely pure in heart and soul, like in order to get this thing to work. Like crazy, ridiculous hard.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But once it's there, once it's active, then it's lovely. And the little boxers that I have are actually like just a small piece of fabric scrunched up like that, dunked into the dye and pulled out, done. Like super rewarding. But to get it to that stage where it's active and where it's ready, then it's really.
So you should do a lot at once when you do blue.
Yeah, but then again, the bath doesn't last forever because those active ingredients will only, like, they're not chemicals. They don't, once they're attached to the fabric, they're gone, right? They're out of the dye bath. And also every time you put fabric into the dye bath, you're changing the dye bath. So that's like, it's going higher or lower pH depending on, what that fabric contains.
Yeah.
So the pH has to be perfect.
Yeah. You're an alchemist.
I wish I'd taken chemistry, because it's such a big learning curve without that. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I love that you love goldenrod and that you had this like side of like, this isn't causing your hay fever. I'm originally from Michigan, so like goldenrod is everywhere. It's also here. And there is this, you probably know, because in one of your photos, there's a whole field of it. At the end of the summer, I don't know if the summer is ending sooner for you where you are, but it kind of is here. The end of the summer, when it's like all just starting to bloom and it's a really hot, sunny day, the smell of the goldenrod just takes me back to like butterflies in my childhood, and it's really cool. Nice. It's also a really healing plant. So
yes. Yeah. So maybe you need it to be goldenrod branding instead of dandelion branding.
Yeah, but dandelion has its own.
It does.
Beautiful.
It does. And getting more accepted now, right?
Yeah, dandelions are really important. For sure. They're important, and they just pop up everywhere. Wow. Okay. I have to stop looking at the site now.
Really?
Because I'm entranced by what you've been creating.
Yeah.
And to interview you about it and to see your passion and see how deeply you've researched a lot of this stuff is really beautiful, Anna. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Aubrey.
Mm-hmm. So where can people find you? Where can they see these beautiful products?
On Living Brand Directory, of course.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. And or my website, so sanctuaryinnerwear.com. I have a presence on Etsy and Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, would love it if people started following. Yeah, because then you can see the whole process. You can see everything happening and how absolutely rudimentary it is. Like, yeah, it's not rocket science. In fact, prior to the 1850s, when aniline dyes were accidentally discovered, that's all we had to dye our clothes. And what's really amazing is that I'm thinking here where people, pioneers, we call them, came from Europe and had to try and survive. Like, if you're trying to survive, would you be dyeing your clothes? You know, making them pretty? I wouldn't, but they did. And so that's what I think is really amazing. Yeah. So, and anybody can do it. So we don't have to have chemicals in our clothing. We don't have to. And we need to know that. And then we need to make a conscious effort not to have chemicals in our clothing. And that will benefit not just ourselves, but also, our homes, because that applies to all textiles. And it will benefit our world as well, as long as we don't exploit, right? As long as we don't over extract. If we are responsible about how we use what's given to us, then we can make it work.
Yeah, we can. And that was really beautifully said. So on that note, I think we say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you both very much.
Oh, yes.
Bye-bye.